I've had a question about factoring trinomials today. So, first of all, I'm going to write a header, factoring trinomials. Maybe it's good if we go back first to look and see what is a trinomial. Where does it come from? First of all, a trinomial is an expression with three terms. And it typically looks something like this. A of x squared plus b of x plus c. Okay. Trinomials come from our products of binomials. So factoring trinomials, so trinomial. It's usually a product of binomials. And not all the time, but a good number of times, usually. Circumstances where it will not be is difference of a square. We talked about those before break. So if you remember, x plus 7 times x minus 7, that's going to give us a binomial answer even though it is in quadratic form. All right, so let's take a look at a function. A function of x, and such that x plus 2 times x plus 3. So this is a binomial. They're being multiplied together. The expression x plus 2 is being multiplied by the expression x plus 3. So this goes back to the analogy of shaking hands. Each part has to shake hands with the other hand. So x times x, they shake hands and get x squared. X times 3, they shake hands and get 3x. 2 times x shakes hands and gets 2x. 2 has to shake hands with 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So we're left with this, but we can simplify this. X squared plus 5x plus 6. So that is going to create and multiply. So when you are, let me do a focus check again. Four times 5 is 20. When you go this way, you multiply. Graph of m. But when you go backwards, you can break it down into its factors. This is factor. So multiply, factor. So we've gone this way. This way is multiplied. To go back to this, we would need to factor. Before we do that, I want to take a step back and I want to look at different numbers. Okay. If we have a function of x such that x squared plus, I'm leaving this blank purposely, plus whatever. So we have what's called a sum and product. Product is what happens when you multiply two numbers together. When you multiply, you get a product. Sum is adding. So what you get is an expression here and here that correlates. If I had number a times b, I'm just going to call it ab. To get the middle term, what ends up happening is I'm adding a plus b. So when I go through and when I factor this out, what I end up doing is I have to break apart my factors of ab. Well, a times b equals ab. So I know I can go factoring, I can break apart this. And when we are doing that, we are breaking apart into its two binomials. So you can think of x squared and ab as something similar. You're multiplying two variables. Here we know we break apart the x, because the factors of x are x squared. Now what's the factors of the ab? A and b. We're working with all positives here. We're not doing anything crazy with signs. So it would be breaking this apart. A and B. So we'd end up with the answer of x plus A is the first binomial expression times x plus B. Okay. To check it, we'd have to go through and multiply it together. X times x. So this is our check. X times s is x squared. What's x times b? Plus bx. What is a times x? Plus ax. A times b plus ab. Now we can simplify. We have x squared plus, well, we have bx plus ax. I could call that b plus a times x. We're going to combine the coefficients when we have the same variable. In this case, the variable is just a single x. A, b. Now let's take a look back at the first question we just did here, this one here. I'm going to work at it, instead of having 6, I'm going to put 2 times 3. Okay. We're starting with the same x squared. Well, I'm going to leave some space, and 6. Factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So I'm actually going to write it first up here so we can see more easily what we're looking at. Okay, so we're building this chart. Factors of 6. Factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Because there's no negative signs, I'm not going to worry about the negative factors at this point. So, product. When you multiply these together, you get 6 and 6. That's what we wanted. If we add these together, what's 1 plus 6? 7. What's 2 plus 3? 5. This is what we want. We want something that's going to match that. So let's take a look at this as a slightly deconstructed view, but not fully back to a binomial. All right. What factors of 6 we're using? 2 times 3. And these would be the x terms we're working with. 5 can be represented as 2 plus 3. So what we can then do is we can now, and then that would be x times x. And we can break this apart. We're going to bring a positive 2 here, and we're going to bring the positive 3 here. So you just need to find those factors that are a factor of the c term, the last term in the expression, and a sum. Those factors need to add up to the b term. Let me do a couple examples, work through. We're going to cut out this step after a few and see if that helps. Okay, readjust, focus, example. The function of x is equal to x squared plus 7x plus 10. So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out the factors of this number by itself, the 10. So factors of 10. 1 and 10. 2 and 5. Do you agree? Good. Now we need, the product step is redundant. The thing about math is we like to be able to reproduce. Math and science are all about being able to reproduce the results. You want to be able to get the same thing using the same technique over and over again. So if I know the process, I can make it in slightly different numbers. So product, 10 times 1, 10. Product of 2 times 5, 10. Now we want to look for the sum. What's 1 plus 10? That's right, 11. What's 2 plus 5? That's right, 7. All right, which is the one that has a product of 10 and a sum of 7. The second one, 2 and 5. So this is what I'm going to do. Put a little star next to it so I know which one I'm working with. And I'm going to break this apart into the factorable pieces. Well, x times x is x squared. Plus, well, 2 and 5 add up to 7, so I'd have 2 plus 5x plus 2 times 5. Now remember, this little dot represents multiplication. So now I've broken up each piece of this trinomial, and I know I'm going to have a term with, and you look at the front term and the last term, x and 2, that's that, x and 5, that's that. So you can go back through, we can add these back up, we'll do our check. X squared plus 5x plus 2x plus 7. Yeah, because 2 plus 5. I'm sorry, 2 times 5 is 10. I was getting ahead of myself in my numbers. I'm sorry. 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, awesome. X squared plus 5 plus 2x plus 2 times 5, or 10. Giving us ultimately the answer we had in the beginning, x squared plus 7x plus 10. Do one more, cutting out step number 2 and going straight down to there. Make it slightly more challenging. The f of x is equal to x squared plus 12x plus 20. So first step, factors of 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Do your product check. 1 times 20 is 20. 2 times 10, 20. 4 times 5, 20. Now do our sums. What's 1 plus 20? 21. What's 2 plus 10? 12. What's 4 plus 5? 9. Okay, out of these three choices, they all give us a product of 20, which is what we want. But only one of them gives us a sum of 12, 2 and 10. Put a star next to it. This binomial, starting x and x, pluses and pluses, two and 10. I am not going to work through the check. You should be confident in your FOIL method. You should take your time, do it yourself, make sure. We're going to do one more quick example with signs, different signs. So, function of x equals x squared plus plus 8x minus minus 48. I've picked horrible numbers. But this is what you're going to have to do. So we have a positives and negatives. Okay. So what this tells us is that to get a negative product, you have to have had factors that had a positive and a negative. We've taken that positive sign for granted last few times. We have to make this negative sign mean something. We end with a positive 8, which is going to tell us when this number is positive and this is negative, our larger value is going to be negative. So I know I can work, or is going to be positive. So my smaller value, -1 and 48. That's going to give me a positive number. -1 times 48 is -48. What's -1 plus 48? 47. -2 and 24. -2 times 24 is -48 and positive 22. -3 and 16. Is that right? Yes. Is -48. And that gives us a positive 13 as a sum. -4. Well, 4 goes in that once, into that twice, into 12. -4 times 12 is -48. -4 plus 12 is a positive 8. That's what we were looking for. So saving us tons of work. You could continue through, and you could do all the other factors and all the combinations. -6 and 8. 8, -8, and positive 6, and all the others, and inverses. You can do them first, but if you can narrow down what you're looking for, it makes your job a lot easier. My mom goes to the kitchen. My mom says, go to the kitchen and find me a cup of tea. I know I am going to look for her cup of tea, probably on the counter, maybe on the table, in the fridge. It's not going to be in the pantry. She's not going to put her cup of tea in the pantry. She's not going to left it in the sink and ask for it again. She's going to have it out sitting somewhere and just forgotten about it. So I'm going to forego going through the rest, and I'm just going to go through and I'm going to say, hey, -4 and 12. These negatives are redundant. I actually shouldn't worry about it. This negative goes with that, so we're not having that. So -4 plus 12 times -4 times 12 equals x minus 4. X plus 12. Now go back, foil that, check that. I'm going to get this video processed. I'm going to post it, hopefully answering some of your questions. I'll scan these notes in as well so you have them available for you. Put your questions in the chat. Send me an email with it, and I will work on something like this. Have a great day and a great weekend.